let me actually check it from here as well. Yeah, so I have to select the stream. It's gonna be this one, and
In this
no,
video,
we don't want the toolbox console. Where is OBS? Let me pull up the stream over here. Let's go to the live stream and yep, I think looks like we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to another live stream, and today we're gonna be continuing with the soldering of wires and assembling of the actuators. We got something new today. So we were missing the USB CAN bus, and we just received this today. This part took more than 1 week to arrive. It's been more than a week since we ordered this, and we really needed this part to test if the actuators we have joined, if they work or not. Obviously we need to make sure all the wiring is okay. I don't think there's any short connection going on over here, but we needed to be sure if everything goes perfectly before putting the body together, the body of the robot, that is. So using this USB to CAN adapter, we can do that. The chat rate just turned 1. I don't know why that happened, or that happened. It might be counting lifetime, chat in live, or no idea. Live chat. Yeah, no idea. Anyways, I think today's mostly gonna be about soldering and wiring, because we need to finish all of the wiring and make all of the actuators that we have currently for the arm ready for flashing the code to them and calibration. So we're gonna be first of all making the wiring connections. After that we will move on to flashing and calibrating the actuators. So just gonna bring this over here as well. Yep, so another small change we made is, if you guys have been following along with this journey, you guys know that we did not have access to the 24 gauge wire. That's why we attached 20 gauge wire on this motor controller, which was a bit difficult to do because 20 gauge wire is way thicker compared to 24 gauge wire, and the area for soldering is very narrow. It's a very small solder pads on this board. So what we did today is we got 24 gauge wire. Now this wire, as you can see, the difference between these two wires, these wires are comparatively thin, so it's gonna be easy to solder them on the motor controllers. So that's what I'm gonna be starting with. Let me check if this one is okay. Yeah, so these connections we made with the motor controllers and the encoders. I'm gonna have to change them later on as well, but we have a bunch of new encoders that I prepared earlier today for this live stream. These all encoders now have 24 gauge wire, and it's gonna be really easy to solder them onto the motor controller. So I'm gonna speed run through this process now, especially now because yesterday I did a lot of soldering on the motor controllers, and so I've kind of gotten used to it now. So this is the handy jig I prepared to solder these encoders onto the motor controller, and we're gonna go ahead and solder them one by one. So let's unbox a motor controller right now, and let's start with the soldering process. Now I am gonna be making a video. In fact, I'm gonna be making a video on every single solder session as well. Whatever soldering you need to do, I'm gonna cover that in a video as well, and I will be uploading that video on my channel as well. So I'm gonna make a playlist with all the videos regarding the assembly, soldering, and material gathering for this robot. And if you guys are interested in that, if you guys want to build the robot, and if you guys want a summarized version of these live streams, that's what you guys should be looking for. Let me see, what am I looking for here? Yep, I'm looking for the wiring diagram to solder these components. Once I have that set up, I'm gonna speed run through this.
These motors are correct, right? These ones.
Yeah, I think so. You can double check if visually to see if there are any short connections or not. But they should be okay, I think.
Yeah, they seem fine.
Yeah, I also checked with a multimeter when I made the connections yesterday. So everything should be fine.
So with these ones, I will see if I can attach the power pole connectors with these ones. I would be needing the crimper.
Let's zoom in a bit on here. What did you say you need?
The crimper. Crimping
here is
which came with this.
Yeah, this is the crimping tool you need to crimp these connectors. Where are the connectors? Yeah, these connectors.
Yeah, I think I'll first of all I'll have to cover the wire with this first of all. These, and then I'll be putting this on top of it.
Crimping makes connections really simple and easy, and they turn out really clean as well. Okay, so let's start with the process. I have everything regarding
there's chat. We would love to find out where you're tuning in from. So which country is our viewership from? Here in Tokyo we have a storm warning. For the next 1 week or 1 week and a half, it's gonna be constantly raining.
Yeah, a typhoon warning to be precise.
Yeah, typhoon. And
typhoons are pretty common here in Japan.
Yep, every now and then there's one. The weather easily gets unpredictable, and when it rains here, it really pours, and it keeps on raining for days on end. Very different from other countries because it's sort of an island nation.
Let's see if I still have some muscle memory from yesterday, from when I soldered this. I'm gonna move the phone away from me a little bit. I'm gonna try to really lean in and put solder over here. Okay, the area for these solder pads, it's really narrow. So what I'm gonna be doing now is I'm gonna cut a very small section. I'm gonna expose the copper wire in a very small section. I don't know if it's, yeah, you can see I've only exposed a little bit of area for the copper, because if you expose it too much, the wires are gonna jingle around when the robot is moving, and you might risk a short circuit. So you need to make sure to expose as little copper as possible, so only enough to solder in there. Okay, now I am gonna apply a little bit solder on this black wire so it picks up on the solder at the bottom where we need to put it, and both these connections are gonna kind of fuse together. Let's apply a little bit of solder on the tip, and I am gonna lean in a bit. Let's clean this first. Yes, this connection turned out perfect, but it was not properly attached to the encoder down below, so I will have to resolder that part. This encoder got really messed up while desoldering the 20 gauge wire, and then I resoldered 24 gauge wire on all of these connections, and the encoders, they're not looking really pretty because of that soldering and desoldering. So ideally you should have, when you're gathering the stuff for building this robot, you should make sure to gather all the required components and wires, especially the 24 gauge wire, as that is not mentioned in the bill of materials in the documentation of the project. Okay, this connection seems good now. Yep, I don't think it's moving. So let's move on to the VCC connection now, which is right next to this black wire, the ground connection. All four connections here are right next to each other, which makes it really difficult to solder them without using magnifying glass or a really thin tip for your soldering iron. As you can see, the tip for my soldering iron, it's really thick. This is like a stock 40-watt soldering iron, and whatever tip it came in with, this is what I'm using for soldering. I also have a solder with a very fine tip. You can see the difference between the two, but this one is only a 15-watt solder, so soldering with this iron is kind of difficult. I much prefer the 40-watt solder over this, but this tip is really nice to sort of getting into those tiny areas to solder these wires. So I'm gonna think of replacing the tip of this soldering iron after I'm done soldering these. Okay, I am gonna apply some solder on this red, on the exposed copper on this red wire. It makes it easy to place it here, and once again I'm gonna lean in. I wish I had a magnifying glass right now, but I don't have one. And let's try to put it together this way. Okay, it seems to be perfectly locked in its place, and you also need to make sure that there are no short connections by using a multimeter. We're gonna do that once we are done soldering everything. Next up, I'm gonna solder the SCL, which is right next to this red wire over here. If we had USB to CAN adapter yesterday. We could have tested a few motors, and we could have placed some joints of the robot together, maybe the shoulder of the robot, and we could have tested it for motion if the motors were okay, but we did not get that adapter yesterday. It took it more than a week to deliver to us, and now we have that adapter, so we're gonna solder these together and we're gonna test the robot in this one or maybe the next live stream.
Do you have any idea how this will open up? It's locked in place.
So if your crimper is locked in place, like it's not moving at all, you need to unlock this hinge, and it's really tightly snugged in its place, so we need to use some sort of screw to kind of hammer it. Let me try and do that. So now it's loose, as you can see. Once again, if it gets stuck in its place, you can release it by using this over here.
Interesting.
Now we have the last connection for this motor controller, and 24 gauge wire, as expected, it's way easier to solder on these pads. So far I have not messed up a single solder connection. There were a lot of hiccups yesterday with the 20 gauge wire because these connections here, they're not really made for a 20 gauge wire. I'm gonna solder all 4 wires here, and then I'm gonna check for a short circuit by using a multimeter. Hopefully we don't have a short circuit, and then I'm gonna move on to the next one. We also found a really good hack / fix for the hot glue solution we were doing with the actuators. So once we move on to the assembling the rest of the actuator, we are gonna talk about that. The microphone just fell from its location. I'm gonna have to readjust it. Okay, let's place it here. I hope the voice is okay and you guys can hear us. Yep, it's much closer to us now, and the vocals should be much better now. We still have the microphone set to pick up voice from all around the room, so it's gonna be picking up ambient sounds as well, but I don't think I think the music we have playing in the background, it should fix that issue with the ambient noise. Okay.
Man, crimping the wires really does require some strength of hands.
Yep, it does. So no short connections, and as expected, this 24 gauge wire it's way easier to solder compared to the other the 20 gauge wire I was soldering yesterday. I'm gonna cut wires for can connections. I'm gonna make those connections as well. It's a good idea to cut all of them at once. So I'm gonna be soldering 10 motor connectors today. motor controller, sorry. I'm gonna be soldering 10 of these with the encoders, so we're gonna require 10 CAN bus wires.
My god, that requires some strength of hands. Okay, 2 done, last one to go.
Yeah, if once you're done with the crimping, you can bring it in the camera and show what the end result looks like. For the last motor, the very last motor we will be crimping, we are gonna have to record a video for that also for the series.
Got. Yep, there's gonna be separate short form videos covering each part of the build. So separate for soldering, separate for each one of the actuators. So the crimping tutorial will also be helpful. Yeah.
If you are a subscriber of this channel, I would love to know if you subscribe because of the software or AI, generative AI videos, or because of the hardware videos or the microcontroller videos like Arduino and stuff like that, because I do cover both of them on this channel, and I'm gonna be covering much more than that, like way different fields, which is drawing, animation, illustration, that kind of stuff as well. And once this project is done, we're gonna have a bunch of other live streams, so maybe of making some action figures using 3D printing and acrylic painting. And I'm also gonna be doing a live stream on 2D frame by frame animation, so if you're into anime or 2D animation, you're gonna wanna tune in those live streams as well. But this robot, it's gonna take a while, even though we're sprinting through it, and we're probably gonna be done with this in less than a week almost. But for this week, we're gonna be doing live streams on this same project. It's coming together nicely, and we're pretty close to the stage where we assemble together the upper body of the robot. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see what it turns out to be.
So after crimping, the 3 wires which are coming out of the BLDC motor, here are the results. Now on top of these, I am going to be attaching these connectors, the power pole connectors, I think these are called, the red colored one and the black colored one. I only have these 2 colors. There's apparently white color ones as well, but we do not have them, so I'm gonna be attaching red and black ones on this, and I'll be back in just a moment to show you how it turns out.
We're gonna be attaching white for live, right? Because white generally also is for live wire.
The thing is, we don't know about these 3, which one is which for the BLDC motor. I think all 3 connections
there aren't like in terms of like a 3-phase wiring for motor, it does, I don't think it matters which orientation
hopefully.
I think it will just turn the orientation of the motor, like which direction the motor is spinning.
Yep.
But we do have to, whatever wiring scheme we follow for one, we will have to keep it consistent throughout, of course. Our average view duration has really improved since our first live stream.
Yep.
It used to be really bad, like it used to be 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and these days during the in these live sessions it's in minutes. Yesterday it was really crazy. It was up to like I don't know, like somewhere between
It went up
15
to
to 15
yeah.
to 20 minutes.
Yep, it went up quite a bit yesterday.
During the weekend's live stream session, we had a lot of viewers, more than 50 during that live stream.
In one of our live streams.
Yeah, most probably a lot of people are free at that time and they just tuned in to see what was going on. I think we can do a live stream of a short live stream of just showing the robot moving once we assemble everything. Testing, and we're gonna be testing that on live stream as well, like it's gonna be live, just like this wiring and soldering and everything is being done live. We're gonna be testing and putting together everything on live streams as well. Okay, I'm gonna solder these CAN wire connections before moving on to the next motor controller and encoder assembly. Let's put a bit of solder on these pads. The tip of the solder iron has been oxidized, and to fix that we are gonna apply some flux. So this flux is really helpful when you're soldering wires, especially when you're soldering stuff for really long time, because the tip of your soldering iron, it's gonna get oxidized and the solder is not gonna stick to it. So you can fix that by applying a bit of solder flux. Now they did mention in the documentation that I'm gonna have to remove some solder from here. It's gonna be a bit troublesome. Otherwise, they did mention in the documentation that the connections for CAN are really small and it's really easy for them to break apart. So far I have not faced any issue while making connections for the CAN wires, but they are really small, so you want to be careful when making these connections. You might end up damaging the CAN solder pads if you're not really careful with it. I'm gonna bring it a bit closer because it's getting slightly difficult to put the solder on. Yeah, it's not a good idea to solder these with a big solder iron tip. Like for electronics, you do need a thin or narrow solder iron tip. It becomes way easier to solder everything if you're using a narrow tip.
Narrow tip as well as a good power rating.
Yes, if you're using a 15-watt solder, it's gonna be really difficult. You're gonna have to apply it for a while to the solder vial before it gets liquefied or it starts moving.
Two of the connections have been made, but I'm really trying with the third one. It's not just clipping in. These connections are a real mess.
Yep. So this one
These
is done, and as you can see, these 4 connections are right next to each other, and it's really easy to make a short circuit if you're not careful with the soldering over here. So, but the 24 gauge wires are much easier to solder over here. Yesterday I was soldering with 20 gauge wire, and it was a much difficult job, and I needed to be much more careful with that. But with this, I'm pretty confident they're not gonna come off, or they're not gonna go short with each other. So we're gonna put this to the side, and I'm gonna bring in the next one. So as you can see, we had to desolder the 20 gauge wire, and we had to resolder the 24 gauge wire. So it's kind of a mess now. Now you need isopropyl to remove this yellowish stuff from this board. Like it's cleanable, but I don't have that right now. I don't have alcohol right now in my lab. So, but the connections are solid. Like this encoder is working. I am gonna unbox the next motor controller, and we are gonna solder that with the encoder. So let's unbox this, and here it is, brand new motor controller. We are gonna apply some solder flux on this. So once again, this helps with the soldering a lot, because the solder iron tip, if they on for a really long time, it gets oxidized and it does not latch on to the solder wire. So you have to solder flux fixes that issue, and I am gonna make room for the ground connection now. Let me remove that. So yeah, you see the issue, it's not picking up the solder wire. Okay, I left a tiny bubble here for the ground wire to be attached, and now I am gonna clip these wires, and I'm gonna clip just a little bit. I'm gonna expose very little copper. If it ends up being more than what I'm looking for, I'm gonna cut it. Let me bring it closer to the camera and show it to you guys. Just a second.
Chat, after over this end, after a little bit of hassle, here I have the connections made. So the BLDC, the 3 wires which are coming out of the BLDC motor, I have attached these clip sort of connections with them, so that way we can easily carry the wires from here onwards. So these are attached. I'm gonna continue doing this for other BLDC motors now. Alright, one down, picking up the next one. After
make sure there are no short connections before moving on. Oh, okay. On the encoder, right? On the controller.
Well, this one actually has a short connection. There are yep, these connections are very dangerous. I'll just put this one aside. Let's check this one.
I think we will have to desolder them and replace the 20.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, by the way. I am just making these clips for now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can make
for
for
sure,
all
for
of
sure.
them.
Yeah. I'll go ahead with it.
Once again, it's just a lot of repetitive manual sort of work, and that's it. That's exactly the case with most projects. It's just simple, boring, repetitive work.
Yeah, guys who just joined us now, I know the thumbnail and the robot on the side over here, it looks really flashy, but this is the process of making robots like this. And this is more of a hackerspace sort of setup, and this is not even a very professional setup. But if you're really careful and you're paying a lot of attention with what you are doing, you can make really stable robots in a small lab like this. So you can work on pretty much any sort of hardware or software project if you really pay attention and if you know what you're doing.
One crimp at a time, making the connections.
Yep, so the tip is oxidized, and once again it's not flowing the solder wire perfectly. I have to clean it up, and then I have to try to place a solder bubble over here again. Yep, this big tip is causing because this tip is so thick, it's really difficult to get in there and put the solder wire. Okay, I have placed a bubble over here, and we are gonna grab the next wire, which is the blue one, and I'm gonna place it right next to the red one. It seems to be leaning a bit towards the red wire. I don't want it to go short with that, so I'm gonna slightly edit it. Okay. Okay, I think it's clean now, and I think these wires are not short with each other. I'm gonna double check this with the multimeter. All good. These are not short with each other, so I'm gonna move on to solder the last wire. Yeah, let's try to speed run through this. Even though this is a precise job, but I have been doing this since yesterday, and I have gotten somewhat used to this, so we can speed it up a bit.
Yeah, attaching these connections is really difficult. They're not the most ideal connectors that I have used. I'm pretty sure there's better options out there. You really have to force the wires inside of them, and the wires very easily bend. They're going strong.
Yeah, I don't think you're like, are they joined perfectly?
Yep, it's joined. This one is joined perfectly now.
Yeah. Okay.
I know there's a satisfying click sound once
Yes,
that's done. So
then it
I'm
should be
hearing that.
okay.
But you really have to apply force to get to that point. By the way, I was looking at some events in Japan earlier today, some meetup sort of events. Was just curious regarding what kind of events are happening. I could not find many tech events that were happening, but I did find a travel related event which is happening somewhere around October 10th, and there's international people coming, as well as there'll be local Japanese or foreigners at that event. It's all about alpine hiking and mountaineering, the whole event. And
October 10th?
Yes, October 10th. We'll need to check our schedule for that, but it would be an interesting place to go. There's around 200 people who are interested in the event, and all of them are not even just random hikes or traveling. The group is about alpine hiking, so really high up in the snow or in Karakoram. I think the leader of the group is a Pakistani person, so he has a lot of experience taking group events to K2 base camp or even Everest base camp, Nepal, Kilimanjaro. So he has been all over the world. And he has gone to really high peaks. He has made many records, and now he just takes groups to on really good treks. So he's from UAE, by the way. I think he's coming to Tokyo just for a visit, and they've planned their event here. So it would be an interesting event.
Might be a good weekend. We can check it out. For the last CAN connection, I'd be so damned if there were any short circuit between the CAN connections, because I'm like so confident with them. I haven't even been checking them for a short connection or a short circuit, but let's just check this one, because this one is looking slightly fishy, but I'm pretty confident we won't have any short connection here.
So I have found many people, even from Tokyo and around Tokyo, overall in Japan, who are usually in the groups discussing hikes and going to different mountains. So I found there was one person who was looking for people to climb Yarigatage with last year.
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
So they went there probably.
Most likely, yeah.
Yarigatage, for those of you who do not know, is considered the most dangerous hike in Japan. Yep, I think it's working now.
The category is gaming. The category of life.
Yeah, I think it's by set that way by default, but the YouTube algorithm is really good with like
picking up the
judging filling up the gaps, judging the category of the live stream. So yeah, I don't know what the live stream will look like now, but we're gonna have to check it out. It was about like after 40 minutes.
Yep.
But yeah, another thing to like take care of when starting the live streams, make sure everything is attached to a charging port. People that do like IRL streaming, I wonder how they manage the batteries of their cameras and equipment.
Yeah, so
They're live for like entire days at a time.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring in the next encoder, and let's go with this one. and I'm gonna make sure the exposed copper is, this section is really small. The smaller exposed copper section you have while soldering, the easier your life is gonna be. And
Done.
let's try and speed run through this as well. So let's make the ground connection first. Looks good. Let's move on to the next one. I wonder how many people building this robot are gonna watch the entire live streams in the future, like, because a lot of it is just repetitive, but there are some tips we give here and there regarding the issues or caveats we have to deal with.
Yeah, I think instead of spending a lot of time watching live streams, someone could just see that one has experience with this and reach out if there is someone who's looking for not building the robot on their own.
Yep.
So that sort of thing does happen with YouTube.
Yeah. If you guys need any sort of help, or if there's a question you have regarding this robot or any other embedded project I have on my channel, you guys can reach out to me, and yeah, I will try to respond to your question as soon as I can.
It's the same with crimping. The first time it was really difficult, but now I've sort of gotten used to it. The rest of them are coming together relatively quick as compared to last time.
Yep. So I have made the first messy connection of the day, but it's not messy to the point that I'll have to remove the previous wires. It's sort of managed mess, if you will. Yep. So we don't have any short connection, whereas yesterday there were quite a few short connections because of the really thick wire we were using. If you really know what you're doing with these hardware soldering and stuff, and if it's not your first rodeo, you can manage with going against the specifications or using different wires or tools than what's recommended.
Yes, we've had to do that a lot of time ourselves. So the almost all of the actuators that we've built so far have some parts which are off, which are not exactly like the bill of materials that they specified in the documentation. We've used different parts, but we've used one or other way to get around of that. I think that happens a lot in hardware projects, just
Yeah.
because sourcing the exact parts is sometimes really a hassle. Sometimes it really takes time, and you have to cover for the deadline of the project as well. You have to keep that in mind. So you end up using alternative parts or making hacks around, and things generally do end up working like that.
You know, with engineering projects, especially if you're building them as a hobby or building them on your own, it's so difficult to finish a project after starting one. Like starting a project is really easy. Starting really anything new is relatively easy, because you tend to place order for all the components real quick, and when they arrive you are really excited for the first day or two to put everything together, but after that it starts to get mundane, it starts to get repetitive, and if you're doing this just as a hobby or just as a side project, it becomes really difficult finishing the
To keep up
project.
the motivation, yeah,
They
because-
can see me here in this. Hey guys, we're gonna work on placing a POV camera as well, but right
Yeah.
now we only have this camera on top. This one, these 4 connections are also done, and here is the result.
Just hand
They-
over another actuator.
Yeah, they look really nice.
Just about any actuator, yeah. Motor connections.
Yeah.
Just gonna solder the connection
I
for
am
motor.
gonna have to check for any short connections.
I think we might run out of these while building all of the
They
arms.
are. We have more than one.
Yeah, we have 2 boxes, but even still, I think just building the parts for the arm, we might run out of these.
Okay, just to be careful, then we will have to order more.
Yep.
We will have to double check, and then we can place order for more of these. Yeah, I'm gonna try to like increase my speed a bit because I really want to finish this repetitive soldering as much as possible in an hour or so, and then I think we can move on to fixing these. So-
This one went.
Yeah, yeah, because tomorrow we also have to travel a lot, and the goal is to have something moving by the day after tomorrow. So in tomorrow's live stream we really need to be
So, like, what are the next steps once the soldering is complete?
once
And
the
these
soldering is
connections are
complete.
made?
I think the next step should be to make we can make 2 more 6E12 actuators. We don't have to rely on fixing these. I think we can just leave those parts for the legs, I think.
These parts?
Yeah, because if we are to get an upper body ready and moving,
I think it would be easier for us to open these and quickly replace just these hex screws. They're ready. Just remove the glue. We have these parts printed as well. Many of these. You can.
how many? Like are they enough for
yeah,
all of
enough,
these?
Enough for all of these.
Okay.
So we'll just quickly replace these parts. Remove the hot glue. We'll just screw them in.
Yeah,
We-
but a lot of them have like 20 gauge wire, and I don't want 20 gauge wire to go in shoulders and stuff like that. I want to replace everything before.
Okay.
Yeah, I will have to do a lot of messy desoldering and soldering on the motor controllers, and we will have to see how that pans out.
This is one of those times where I wish we had more team members, because it's not it's just a time taking. It's not even difficult. It's just a time taking job, and if one had a lot of team members, these things could very easily be finished within days. One could move much faster than just the 2 of us working alone. on this project.
I don't think anyone else has ever done a live stream on building this robot. I might be wrong, but
well, at least we're unique in some way. We're doing something unique that's not on YouTube.
Yep.
That's
and
fun.
Who knows, this might end up helping people who want to build this robot. Another one is done. Yep. At this point, I'm not. I don't even want to check for like short connections or whatever. I just want to like rush through these as soon as possible because let's just check it, because why not? I really hate this multimeter because of its like really low voice. It's really difficult to hear anything. If there's a short connection, you don't really get to know it. Okay, this one is also done. We have quite a few more to go, so I'm gonna open another motor controller. I think we can check for short connections once everything is done, because at this point I've gotten pretty confident with my soldering on this, and we don't have to even check for any short connection while making these. After that, of course, we're gonna come back to all of these and check using multimeter. I'm gonna grab one more, and I am gonna prepare once again by exposing as little copper as possible. Yeah, I think I'm gonna order that soldering stand from Temu after all.
The one with the
One with the magnifying glass, but it has a lot of these arms which you can use to hold together wires in place if you want to apply solder or anything else on them. Otherwise, you have to like just suspend them in air.
So it has sort of something to mount the component on, as well as the wires. But that's helpful, yeah. That is helpful.
It's really helpful,
especially because our work involves a lot of soldering every now and then.
Yes.
This one also done.
Right now I'm using the motor controller as a mount to hold my wires when and it's not a good idea. These parts are also expensive, and they're not like meant to be used as a Temu soldering station replacement, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Guys, we would love to know where everyone is tuning in from, which country, and if you're working on any interesting software or robotics projects or you would like to work on, we would love to hear in the comments. I think, can you hand over one more actuator here?
Here you go. So okay, I'm gonna start with this one as well, and let's measure the time it takes for me to solder these, because I've gotten pretty used to them. Let's hope we don't get a short circuit, like fingers crossed. First connection is done and it's perfect. I'm gonna leave a solder bubble right next to this black wire now. That's where the VCC connection is gonna go. Let's bring in the VCC connection and let's try and put it in here. Okay, nothing seems short so far. Everything looks good. Now we are gonna attach the blue wire, which is a signal wire.
I'll just take a picture from here. Of us working.
The blue wire is also done. It's leaning a bit towards the red wire. I'm gonna have to edit it slightly. Okay, it's away from the red wire now. And the last one, yellow one. Okay, I think this is the quickest one I have done. And yep, last one is done as well. This is kind of getting a bit repetitive, so I'm trying to speed it up a bit, because by the next live stream I really want to move on to assembling the upper body of the robot.
By the next live stream, yep.
Yep, so
I think
if you're looking forward to this, you really want to tune in the next live stream.
Yeah, I think we're pretty confident by the next live stream we will be in the next live stream we will be assembling the upper body. By the end of this live stream, everything will be ready to flash the code and test the actuators. I'll see if we can only flash and calibrate the actuators for the upper body. Once that is done, we can very quickly sprint and connect the upper body.
Yes, the connections for upper body, they won't take that long. I think we will have to make, because it's so big, we will have to make a totally different arrangement for camera as well, but
yeah, we'll look into that, but first of all we really want to make sure we calibrate these motors, at least ensure that the connections we've made so far are working, so that way, because assembling the upper body we have to open up the actuators and make different connections. We don't want to do that again and again. So step by step, the right thing would be to ensure first of all the motors are calibrated and they're working fine. We'll hopefully get to that point by the end of tonight's live stream. By tonight's live stream end, we will have the CAN USB connections made and the software ready to flash the actuators and start testing. But yeah, let's see how long this sprint goes, and we don't even know how many hours we'll be working. Let's see how long we can continue doing this tonight.
it's really cool that we have close to 1,000 subscribers, 900 something. So we have people jumping in every now and then to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it will not always be like this. Some days there will be drawing sessions. I'm really looking forward to those because I really love drawing, and I'm definitely gonna be making some fan art in a live stream soon. But imagine if we had like this was a brand new channel. It's really difficult to get, from what I understand, new viewers on live stream when you're starting out your live streaming journey on YouTube. On Twitch, it's really easy to get discovered while you are live streaming.
Is it on Twitch?
Yeah, it's really easy to get discovered while live streaming, whereas on YouTube, if once you are done with your live stream, it stays live on your channel, and you get discovered from SEO if people are looking for that kind of content. But whatnot, on Twitch, once you are done live streaming, your video pretty much dies out, and it almost never makes new views, or it never garners more attention. But in case of YouTube, once even after you're done live streaming, it's difficult to get attention or get new audience while you are live streaming. But after you're done doing live streaming, your video tends to keep performing in terms of SEO, discoverability, that kind of stuff. So that's like a difference between these two platforms.
Yeah. I just got a notification that Bitcoin price is approaching 126k.
That's a new all-time high.
Is it a new all-time high?
Yeah, it's never been there before.
Can you pass over another actuator from there? Just any random one.
And this one,
Just-
no, we will have to desolder. Just grab this. I'm gonna desolder this right now.
Okay.
You might wanna pull that wire. Pull it off. Yeah. Pull this one off as well.
Be careful with the chips. Oh, it's just very big, strong connection. I will need you to desolder these a little bit as well. So these.
Let me just clean out these connections.
Yeah. In the meantime, just give.
No, it's just gonna be like a while. I'm gonna. So regarding the discussion we were having about Twitch versus YouTube, I think with all platforms, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or any other social media platform or any domain in general, whether it's marketing or it's business or it's whether you're studying something, it really comes down to the clock speed. Most often what people are doing is they just upload one video and they just hope for things to work out, and they're just waiting for an entire week or two or months go by and there's no new content. Whereas if you look at some people, for example, what Alex Hormozy was talking about Iraq, that he had 30 plus pages of script written down, Yeah.
and a lot of iterations of script, that just really changes your perspective, that people are out there sending tens of thousands or 50,000 cold emails a day at a really high scale.
Yeah, and
To filter
the
out
biggest YouTubers on the platform, they are pushing out tens of hundreds of hours of content every single day on the platform, and that's the name of the game. Once you realize the sheer difference in the quantity of what an average YouTuber, someone who's just starting out or someone who's only doing it as a side hobby, how much content they are pushing out every day, and when you compare that with the biggest creators on the platforms, they are pushing out multiple videos, shorts, reels on all the platforms out there. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, and every other platform. And it's not just like a single 1, 2 or 3 posts. Even sometimes it's like I mentioned, tens of hundreds of hours of content on all different platforms.
Hey Crunchy Tails, good to have you here. Hi.
Crunchy Tails, you have a really cool mascot walking on in live stream.
Yeah, if you can see at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, let us know if you can see your mascot moving around in the live stream just at the bottom.
Yes. So it's a plugin that we recently added that for anyone who comments, there's gonna be a mascot appearing with the comment.
Yeah, you might
at the
want to
bottom
add
of the screen,
comment in the comment section as well. Hi.
Um,
Sometimes, most of the time people are of course listening to the live stream as well, but sometimes they just have it going on mute. So we Crunchy Labs, we would love to know if the music in our live stream is too low or too high perhaps. Yesterday we got a feedback from a live stream viewer and he was saying the music is too loud and distracting. So today we try to turn it a bit down, and we don't know what it sounds like in the live stream. We will have to check it afterwards, but it would be really helpful if you can comment on that. Yep, I'm really starting to breeze through these connections once I've gotten used to this.
So you're also working on a robot clone, emo robot clone.
Oh, I know about emo. It's that tiny robot companion, right?
Emo robot clone. Oh, so a tiny companion robot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool.
That robot has a lot of personality, and a lot of it comes from its facial expressions or the eyes. If you just have like a bland robot with just static eyes, it looks really creepy in a weird way. And what they did with that robot companion is they gave it such a jolly and lively personality. It really looks like a companion. So I do a lot of 2D animation, frame by frame animation, and in terms of that robot, emo robot, what they did is they, if I can find an OLED display lying around here somewhere, we have a few OLED screens lying around in our lab. So what they did is they made a lot of frame by frame animations, but I made it with limited features. So have you made it already, or are you working on building one right now? And if possible, I would love to see what it looks like, and if you need any help, I would love to help you on that project. So I'm unable to find the OLED screens in my lab, but we have them lying around somewhere.
There's one on that 3D printed.
Yeah, I think if you can grab it.
Okay.
But if you have an OLED display like this, you can make a 2D frame by frame animation in software like Blender or Clip Studio. I'm gonna raise the camera a bit, and this OLED screen, if you can make, I am working on it. Awesome. I would love to see that if possible. Yeah, so they have attached an OLED display like that in the place of its eyes, and they have made frame by frame animation, and you can do that in softwares like Clip Studio Paint, Adobe Animate, Blender, and they have made so many facial expressions for that robot, and of course it takes a lot of time. They have commissioned artists to make those animations. Some of those artists I know on social media that have worked on those animations, and those animations are really the core appeal of that robot, because the whole vibe of the robot is to be cute and make those really cute facial expressions.
Yeah, ESP32 is good for it. So we all, for example, this one, these really small versions, Because I'm guessing the size of the robot that you're building is very small to make it kind
Yeah.
of look cute. So very small versions of ESP like this one will fit in perfectly
Yeah,
well in
this
there.
is ESP32 C3 and this is
Let me just compare
S3.
it with the bigger versions of ESP.
But you can even go smaller than this, like in professional designs like that. Of course, you for a prototype you're gonna wanna use an ESP32 like this. But if you are going for an industrial design or a manufacturer ready design, you're only gonna have this chip.
Yeah, just for reference, this is a regular size ESP32S3, and these are small size ESPs.
Yep, yeah. So, yeah, so I would really love to see what product it ends up looking like. But yeah, it's a really cool project, and I have built some bigger robots. I have never worked on something really tiny like that, but it's a really cool and amazing project. Are you just building it as a hobby, or are you building it to hopefully commercialize it in the future, or get a manufacturer ready design for it? Because you can sell it as a companion just like the other robot that you mentioned.
Yep, people do have, once the design is good enough at a good enough point, you can you can sell it like a product on various stores. And I personally know some people who are interested in them. They have purchased small AI robotic dog companions. So very small robotic companion dogs. It's your hobby.
Cool. That's really awesome to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some weirdos like us out there. We also do a lot of this stuff just as a hobby. We do it professionally, like as a commission projects every now and then. But most of this stuff that we do, we also do it just as a hobby. Commercially, also, if you want to explore opportunities, I think anime action figures with microcontrollers and this kind of functionality, they have a really huge market. If you're into anime, you can combine these hobbies together and there's a really big market for it, because right now in Japan most of the action figures we have seen on store, they go for really expensive prices, but they're just static action figures. If you understand, like if you've seen them, I'm pretty sure you have. But yeah, it's a really cool hobby. Of course I am biased because I do it all the time, but you can also turn it into a small scale business or something you do every now and then on the side.
My machine learning teacher gave me a project on the attended system.
Oh, so you're studying right now? If I am, are you doing a bachelor's or master's?
I don't know what exactly is the attended system. It might be attendance system, or
Yeah,
I'm just not understanding it correctly.
yeah. If it's an attendance system, I think it's like a bachelor's project, and
Oh,
it's
attendance. Okay, it's attendance system.
gotcha.
Attendance.
Yeah. We also used to work on projects like that in our university days, and we during my university time, I bachelor CA AI. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, bachelor's is like the most coolest time of one's life,
You have all the time in the world.
Yeah, especially to work on projects like this and catch up on One Piece or Naruto. That's when I finish those long, really, really long shonen animes.
Yeah.
The top three, as they call it.
It
But
took
yeah,
me 1.5 years to catch up with One Piece.
yeah,
And during that time, I think there were only like 700 episodes or 800 episodes around. But yeah, very cool time. And it's pretty amazing that you're working on these projects during your university years. Not many students do. And if you keep working on projects like this, you'll end up learning a lot more than just theoretical lectures. A huge part, almost all of learning comes from doing projects on your own. You just end up into
Yeah.
messy situations. You end up into errors that you're debugging,
yeah.
and most of the learning comes from that. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, the degree I did, it was electrical engineering, but it had nothing to do with microcontrollers or generally what I'm doing right now. We did not learn 3D design at all. I used to do a lot of 2D drawings and animations and anime illustrations before that, but I never tried 3D design like ever. And I had to learn this all by myself while attending university. I recently watched Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. Oh, that's so cool. I have yet to watch that. I haven't watched that movie, so please don't spoil it for me. But yeah, Demon Slayer is really good animation voice. Yeah, and if you're even slightly into that, the anime or the this genre, what I would recommend you to read absolutely is Berserk. You can look it up. It's Berserk, and it's easily one of the top fiction pieces I have read. It's not like a typical cliche fight sort of manga.
It's a really different story.
Yes,
and it's different in the sense that it's you might have seen memes of it, you might have seen posts of it. It's very famous throughout the anime community in general, but it's one of the best stories that I have seen out there among any movie, any season, any anime at all in general. It's a very different philosophical and touches hardship, struggle, life, meaning on a really deep level. It's a worthwhile read. Hassan, can you try picking it out? I'm unable to. You can show to the camera as well the issue we were having.
Is it like stuck?
Yeah, the crimping tool is stuck.
So the crimping tool is stuck, and it tends to get stuck in its place, locked in its place like this. So when you're stuck in a position like this with the crimping tool, there are two ways to get out of this situation. What is that you are working on? So we are working on this humanoid robot over here. So there are a bunch of joints that go in this robot. So if you can see over here, we have prepared
Many
a lot
actuators.
of actuators. Be careful not to like touch them with the solder iron. So all of these things that we have built, these are actuators, and these are what make the joints and elbows, all the like joints of the robot. So we have assembled a bunch of these in the previous live streams, and they are pretty much what's gonna come together to build this robot. It's a really large robot. It's not like
there's two different versions of that. There's a human size, there's a large size robot, but this one is light. So this is Berkeley Humanoid Light. So you might have heard of UC Berkeley. It's a university, and they have designed this robot and open source the design. So the design, CAD files, the details on how to build it, all of it is open source and available via their documentation. All of these parts are roughly around $5,000.
yeah.
So all of these drivers, the motors, as well as this all of the parts which are required to build this robot come in roughly around $5,000. The rest of the design is completely open source, so you can 3D print the parts and assemble the robot together. And then there's a open source community around it, which is making fun functions for it. For example, dishwashing software, you can just flash it to it. Walking software, running software, you can just flash to the robot and it can do those things.
It's a really amazing project because you have access to this humanoid robot, and then based on your imagination or your skill set, you can train it to do pretty much anything you want to.
Where are you from? So like that question has two separate angles: where we're originally from and where we're currently at. So currently we're in Japan. So we have a small sort of a robotics lab here, and we're doing hardware projects here. So currently we're in Japan, but originally we're from Pakistan. Where are you from? I would love to know where you're tuning in from. The crimping tool is...
Yep. So I'm gonna quickly explain that. So sometimes your crimping tool gets stuck in this orientation, and it's there's a thick wire stuck in between its jaws, and it's really difficult to push it further inward or release it by using this release latch over here. So there are two ways to get out of this situation. One is to push really hard or hammer on this latch. The other one is to just use brute force and push your way through the crimp, and it's gonna be released like this.
Did you push your way?
Yeah, I
did. That ended up crimping this wire further, but that's not an issue.
Yeah,
right.
Our friend here is from India, and so we're neighbors.
Yeah, we're neighbors. Hey, it's really good to have you here. We have some really good Indian friends here in Japan. There's a lot of Indian community here.
Yeah,
I know many people who are working in AI and software sector here. They're doing jobs, as well as I know people who are working outside of software, just in general, and they're from India.
Yeah, I know one Indian fellow over here. I often see him, and he's working in the top of the top software field, which is like hardware testing and certification. So hardware testing certification and software testing and certification, they are some of the highest paying fields you can get into. And that dude, he works a little bit in hardware side as well, but mostly he does software certification, and he has a really good job here in Japan. One of the highest paying jobs that I know of from all the people I know here in Japan. So yeah, there's a really nice Indian and Pakistani community here in Japan as well.
Yeah, it's not as much as Europe or US. Where I can say that very easily. Japan in general has less foreigners as compared to US and Europe, other countries. However, we do know many Indian people and Pakistani people here. We often meet with them. They're doing jobs here. They're doing businesses here. So there is a community here. Yeah.
But definitely read Berserk. And once you do, let me know what you think of it. I have never met anyone in my life who disagrees that it's a good manga, it's a good read. It's like universally accepted that it's one of the best pieces of fiction ever written. So I do have some the soldering from this angle, it looks really nice, but it's kind of messed up if you look at it from behind. There's a big blob over there, and I'm gonna have to remove that blob. Can I get some social media account if I have some problems in my project? For sure, you can reach out to me on social media. I am gonna share it with you in a bit. Let me grab something from here. You can reach out to me on my Instagram, and it's this Cruise and Coffee. It's CRUISE, Cruise and Coffee. And coffee because I really love coffee. I have like many cups of coffee lying around, and if you are doing like hardware and software projects or robotics projects and you're sprinting through them, it's like almost 3 a.m. at night time over here. So if you're pushing it all nighters, if you can press cancel on there, like on the software,
Okay.
if you're pushing all nighters, you really need a lot of coffee. I generally really love coffee. What did you say? Wait.
Wait, yeah, he's probably reaching out.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna have it open on the side, and I'm gonna move these coffee cups. It's terribly unhealthy to have this much amount of caffeine, but sometimes you need it to push through with these projects. I think I'm gonna have to remove these two wires, and I'm gonna have to edit the soldering I did over here. It's the first edit I've had to do since I started today. I'm gonna have to clean this up.
By the way, we still have the small mascot of Crunchy Tails moving on the screen.
Yeah, I think
so
we can
cute,
set timer. Yeah, as long as he is engaged in the chat, as long as he keeps talking to us, his mascot is gonna be around. And there's a time limit. I think there's a timer. Once someone leaves the chat, his mascot
disappears.
Yeah, it stays there for a while. You can like set the duration.
Yeah, so I think we turned on the sound of the comment
Yeah.
yesterday, so we'll also
So
check that
were
afterwards.
there like speech bubbles appearing?
Yep,
when-
there were
Oh,
appearing.
wow.
We'll need to check.
I would
after
love to
that.
see how that turns out. Yep, I almost forgot how small these
This actuator is
yeah
also done. Can you-
these solder points were on this motor controller. But yeah, so far this one also looks good to go. So this one is also ready, and we don't have any short circuit over here, and I'm gonna push it to the side, and we're gonna move on to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you very much for following, guys. Feel free to reach out anytime. Yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. As well as while you're at it, if you can leave a like on this video, that would help us a lot.
Yep, this is the first.
Oh, you draw as well.
Oh,
Just checking your Instagram account.
yeah, I
you-
just checked your Instagram account. So the skill set is pretty much the same, and the hobby and interests. I was also drawing a lot during my university days. I followed you back.
Yeah, people in tech, sometimes in the fields like robotics or IoT, do tend to have a generally very good grasp of various domains.
Yeah.
As sort of a polymath.
So if you have never tried 3D modeling before, I think Blender is gonna be the next software for you to explore. I never got the chance to try it during my university days, but I really love the software and I had to brute force my way through learning that software. And if you don't know, if you have not tried Blender before, it's really difficult to learn about the software. It's really difficult to even navigate around in the 3D viewport when you're starting out. But for any artist or any creative person, in my opinion, Blender is the best piece of software you can teach to a creative person.
Yeah, but very good to see the skill set, especially with the drawing as well. Keep going strong, and it's really good to see you're working on the projects as well while you're still studying. A person learns a lot from doing projects himself, so we're rooting for you. Keep going strong.
And thank you for dropping that like on the live stream. It was probably you. I don't think anyone else is dropping a like on the video yet.
Will you control it with ROS? No. So we're not going to be controlling it with ROS. The thing is, UC Berkeley, the team from the university, they have already pre-packaged everything for this robot. So it's just sort of a plug and play project. Once everything is assembled and we have the Raspberry Pi, or they're suggesting to use a CPU, a whole computer for this, but we think that Raspberry Pi would be enough.
Yeah, that's where we are gonna go against the instructions, or we're gonna modify the instructions slightly. But our first goal with this project is to just get the robot moving.
Yeah, so they
after that, we can even control it using ROS or pretty much any other way you prefer.
Yeah, but the you'll be going against the tide, because there's an open source community that is already creating policies for this robot, like cleaning something, running, or washing dishes, and they have already uploaded the code on the open source GitHub. All you have to do is just take their policy and upload it to your robot. It will take like 1 or 2 hours of training maybe to implement on your robot, but then it will be good to go. So we're not going to be using ROS, we're just going to be using standard policies that people have already uploaded.
If you're for example, you are in like university right now, so you can imagine 5 to 10 years from now, if you start working on your own project using ROS, and everyone else in the open source community is going through the route the Berkeley open source team has set up, you're gonna be way separate from them on a different path. So generally with this, I'm gonna recommend following in with the design that the open source team from Berkeley has laid down. But if you want to make your white label this or make your own commercially viable product, then you can go a separate route. If you have enough money or enough resources for R&D for this robot, if you can make new policies yourself or train the robot to do certain tasks, it requires a lot of R&D to do that kind of stuff, a lot of money as well.
So what's the main controllers? So for this one, there's not a microcontroller. They are using Ubuntu, so we can use a PC, or in their case, if you search on Google,
you're just gonna give commands using a standard USB cable. It can be like USB-C or even the USB-A port, and they're using this USB to CAN converter, and it's gonna send instructions in a different format to
the
this
motor
driver. So that's what I'm soldering right now. All the motor drivers I have soldered so far, as you can see, they have a 3 cables for CAN. So the instructions are gonna flow from PC via USB cable, and it's gonna be in a CAN format, and this motor driver is gonna handle the rest. It's gonna grab instructions from this, and they have all the code they're running for moving the different joints of the robot open source. You can grab that code, you can play around with that.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to learn more about this project, you can just search UC Berkeley Humanoid Robot. It's completely open source. They have a documentation on all of the parts and how you go about doing everything. They have a detailed list of parts as well, so you can obviously, we're not sponsored by them. It's an open source project, but you can search more. All of the details are mentioned on their official documentation on their website. So for now, we are just making the wiring connections. Once the wiring connections are complete, we're gonna upload their software, and we'll calibrate the motors to ensure they're working fine. Once that is done, we'll begin the assembly of the robot.
I think if you are in university and if you are in constant talks with your professor, you can maybe even convince them to release or get a grant for sourcing these materials. You don't have to buy these materials. You can if you can convince your professor to build a humanoid robot for the university lab, you pretty much know at this point how to build we are documenting everything. So in university it's pretty easy to get the budget for these kinds of projects if you are able to convince your professor. So if you want to work on something like this, you can try talking with your professor, and if he is willing to get a grant from university for this purpose. Most of the times in robotics, professors are easily convinced to do projects like this.
Yeah, it depends upon university to university as well. So in my university, there was a robotics department, and the head of the department, he had a project going on for a robotics for a robot football team, which he wanted to train and then take to international competition. So that was one of the route I had for my final year project. I did end up choosing some other project, but there was a robot football team in my university robotics lab. So it depends. Usually in university there are different departments and professors are working on projects. Usually the projects that they are working on, the problems they are solving, if you're aligned on that and if you find an interesting problem there to solve, then it kind of becomes easy because both parties are interested. So raising the funds, setting up the milestones, all of that becomes easy. Usually, especially in universities in Pakistan and India, obviously everyone would understand, it's not very easy for someone to say, hey, I want to build this ideal thing, it's my dream, and everyone will just agree and give you grant for that. It's very difficult to find funding and source funding in Pakistan and India, Indian universities, but there are professors working on projects already. So if any one of those projects intrigues you, interests you, then there's a possibility of good collaboration there. By the way, the thing about India in general, putting aside the education, the projects, even the culture and politics, everything, they really have good mountains. So the Himalayas there are really amazing, and I've never visited India before, but I would imagine if I were to visit India, there would be so many places on my mind, especially towards the mountainous areas in the Himalayas. I would not run out of places to visit. So Nepal, Pakistan, India, all three of them have extremely beautiful mountainous ranges. And to be frank with you, I have watched vlogs of people on biking road trips in the Himalayas in India, and the villages are surreal, very remote villages where there's not even connections. So it's a really good vibe to be in those high mountains out there. I really admire India for that. They have really good mountain ranges, as well as Pakistan and Nepal.
Yeah, it's the like same mountain range that stretches across these, the Karakoram, the Hindu Kush and the Himalayas. And yeah, those ranges have some of the most prettiest and highest mountains in the world. So it's, if someone loves hiking, that's any of these three countries is a really good bet for finding good spots.
Yes, he agrees. I think he's into hiking and mountaineering as well. It's really funny. We are into hiking. We hike to mountains a lot. We've been to many good tracks and trails in Pakistan, and obviously Himalayas are really huge. They have this aura about them. It's a very spiritual place in a sense as well. It's very remote, far removed from society. And after that, coming here in Japan, all of the mountains are so chibi. They are so small.
Yeah.
And the highest mountain here in Japan is like Mount Fuji. It's 3,700 meters, I think, somewhere around that. And it's not even half of the height of the Himalayan mountains. So that was a really change of scenery for us. So average hike here is like only 1,000 meters, 1,200 meters. Some difficult hikes here are just 2,600
Yeah,
meters.
but access to mountains is easy here in, like, it's generally easier in developed countries. In Pakistan and India, access to mountains is really difficult, and even once you reach there, the facilities are not like not even decent. There are some like good tourist spots that have facilities there, but even there, the local communities and the local sellers, they kind of make their own rules. So here in developed countries, the access and facilities in those areas, it's really good. That makes the trip worthwhile. But the mountains are really small. Like if you're into hiking and stuff like that, it's not worth it, I think. Brother, I like Pakistani artist songs like Talha Anjum, you know about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Same here for like it's the same for us in Pakistan. A lot of Bollywood is of course really famous in Pakistan as well. I assume you also listen to Coke Studio. So yeah, the culture is exactly the same. The language is same, and it's just like politics that gets in the way. By the way, congratulations on winning the three matches against
Pakistan,
us.
Yeah, India.
Yeah, and winning the trophy as well.
Listen, no hard feelings over there. You guys, your team is professional. They handle things very professionally.
Yeah, and the bringing politics in cricket was a bit of like cringe stuff to do. It's
It's common in Pakistan, India. They do it with everything.
They always bring politics in everything, and it's
Can you pass me some other connectors? I just ran out of these ones.
yeah.
And I'm
this
Yeah.
more connectors for the robot. Yeah, but the thing is, people, vloggers, and the everyday people from both countries really l- love sharing moments together, especially when you move abroad. Everyone from India is exactly uh, the border kind of disappears between the country
Yeah.
everywhere around the world except for being in India and Pakistan.
Yeah. So like even in other countries.
Yeah, so, in our countries, the unks, all the boomers, they are talking about politics all the time, and the unks are really driving the narrative. But the younger people that move out, they don't like ever. I haven't seen anyone who talks about politics abroad when they meet people from the neighboring country. We're like always talking about jobs, economy.
How many members in your team for this project? So for this project, it's only the two of us. We do have partners in other projects, some of the other projects that are ongoing on and off. We do have partners around the world, not just in Pakistan and Japan, but from some other countries as well. Because we've been working on this project for a while now in IoT and hardware. But for this specific project, it's only the two of us that are working on this. And in all honesty, we don't think it's gonna take us a lot of time to finish this project. It'll only take us about a week. I really doubt it's gonna be more than a week from today before we have it assembled and basic policies are running on the robot. So for this project, yeah, only the two of us.
We have worked on some other projects as well. Some of them I have worked on, some of them Ali has worked alone on. So yeah, we have gotten a lot used to building projects like this over the years. So we kind of sprint through these projects. As you can see, I think in university you are only like building small scale projects, really like the attendance system you mentioned. In my university days, I built a home automation system and I made a miniature home, and we had lights and fan and cameras and everything in that house. So with those small projects, it's easy to finish them. But if you ever built a really big project, I think most people tend to struggle a bit with motivation, because the first few days it's really exciting, you're doing something new, but after a while it tends to get mundane and it starts to get boring. So that's why with the projects we take on, we always try to sprint through them and finish them as soon as possible. It's not to say we don't struggle with less motivation. We often struggle with it, like procrastination, but most of the times the projects we start, we finish them in less than a week. Like the action figure I showed you, I 3D printed and painted. I finished that one in less than a week as well. So 1 week for easier projects is kind of like a ballpark. Of course, if you're working on a commercial or professional project, it's gonna take a long time and you're gonna have to make policies and deadlines to kind of stay on track.
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on the scope of the project as well. So some projects are really precise and they require a level of engineering and creating different modules, uh, modularize the project, because the scope is too big that if you do not modularize different parts, no one will be able to understand the code base. And if many people are working on the code, you need to have a modularized structure that everyone is easily able to understand and navigate through, make changes in a very clean way. So in those sort of projects, even if you sprint all day and night, there's really no way you can. It's very unrealistic that you're gonna complete it in 1, 2, or 3 weeks. Sometimes those projects ends up taking months, sometimes even years. So it really depends on the scope of the project, the
And-
scale of the project.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not only the case with electronics or embedded projects, it's pretty much the case with all projects. I have made so many 2D animations that are just sitting in my iPad for years now, that have not been uploaded on any social media page because they never got finished, or I never felt like they were good enough to be uploaded. I have probably digits in animations just laying around in my devices that never made it to social media. So if you think about it that way, it's really like so much time wasted if a project never makes it onto social media or its intended place. So that's why you need to make policies and set deadlines to push stuff out there. And it happens in pretty much anything you do in life, not just electronics or embedded projects.
Yeah, in every project. So I have seen with software development as well. So I have done web development for a while as well. We had a small scale software based business a while back. It's almost everyone you can find. You can find many people online that can build okayish websites, but it's really difficult to find people who can make really good quality websites. There is a depth to the skill that can only be learned with trials and errors, a lot of failures and persistent over the years. It's the same for web development. It's same for any other niche, and that's part of the reason why it's generally recommended to stay true to only one field and not just
See
jump
you again,
around.
Crunchy. We're gonna be moving on to assembling the whole body of the robot in 1 or 2 days. We're gonna be doing a live stream, so be sure to join us again over here as well. And it was really awesome talking to you.
Awesome, yeah. Take care, man.
Stay in touch, man. So yeah, with the motivation thing, once again, it's really important to set deadlines and sprint through them. And even if you realize the project is not like at a really good place after that deadline, it's really important to move fast and get it done with, so you can move on to that next step.
Yeah. Deadlines are a pretty funny thing because if you're comfortable, you can very easily set deadlines that are molded in accordance to your comfort. So if you do not forcefully set a tight deadline, the same project for the same project you'll end up wasting weeks or months. Whereas if the deadline were too weak, it most often happens that people do tend to finish the project within that tight deadline. So deadlines are really in it's sort of an art that you don't have to be too unrealistic, and you don't want to keep it too light, too loose, so that way people get very comfortable with the project.
Crunchy says thanks, you're welcome. Nice chatting with you. How many have we got left to do? Only 3 more. 3 more on my side, and then I think we can move to finalizing the actuators.
Yeah, so like I'm also working on the second last one.
Yeah, so everything's coming together nicely. We should be. I'm pretty optimistic about assembling the body together in the next live stream. So we're getting pretty close to that milestone. Once this is done, I am so excited to do an animation live stream as well. So, a slight change of pace,
Yep.
and maybe we can, yeah, I think I can upload a few animation shorts over here on this channel as well, just to kind of see how it goes, but most of it is of course related to IT.
Yeah, IoT in
And
general, most
yeah,
of all.
IoT, but we don't want to only restrict it to that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That for sure. Like we want a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of that side as well. This one is also done, and the solder joints, they look really nice, really pretty over here. Let's move on to the next one. We only have 3 more to go, and yeah, I'm sprinting through them really pretty fast this time around.
Yeah, same with the connections. The first 2 were a bit difficult, but now I'm just sprinting through them.
Yes. So once again, how many actuators does the robot have in total?
22 actuators, but for the upper body will only need 10 actuators, 2
Yep,
M6012 and 8 of the 5010 actuators.
Yep, so 22 actuators. So you're gonna struggle a little bit, for sure you're gonna struggle with the first few connections.
In terms of what?
In terms of like getting used to it, getting a hang of it, because because of how precise this soldering is, and if there is any issue with the parts you have sourced from your local manufacturer or supplier, because some of the hex, especially the hex stands,
okay.
they really depend upon what country you're living in, what the manufacturing standard is for the local companies over there. Once you get used to all of that stuff, it gets easier and easier for the rest of the actuators. So I think it's gonna take us only like 1.5 hours to get all the actuators for the lower body ready, because we're pretty used to assembling those actuators at this point. I have uploaded a video on how to assemble the 5010 actuator, the process for 6C12 actuator, which is a bigger one. The process is exactly the same, but I'm still gonna be uploading a video on that as well, and I'm gonna be uploading a video on all of this soldering process as well. So it's gonna be a really detailed documentation in the playlist. So
yeah, we're trying to document as much as we can as we go along with this project. So these live streams are just generic sprints, while we are kind of working on the project, but these are too long. Obviously not everyone's gonna watch these, so we're also making small tutorials which are more so specifically focused on different parts of the project. So soldering, making the actuators, and later on assembling the robot as well. So as much as we can, we are trying to document the process.
it's so cool to see his avatar is still walking around.
Imagine 10, 12, 15 avatars here. That would
Yeah,
be so much.
that would look so cool. Yeah, with time for sure.
Yep.
With time for sure. Yeah, this is the longest chat I think we've ever had in our live stream. This is our 5th live stream.
Yeah, this literally is something new every day at this point. I wonder if one keeps going for months on end and keeps improving every step. So like adding something new, subtle, something small every live stream, improving, iterating on previous mistakes, just improving the overall quality and production. I wonder if in a few months where this channel will be.
Yeah, for sure it will be in like a much better place.
Yep.
For sure.
So as we are working on interesting projects even in the future as well, whether they are hobby projects or some other projects or some drawings or art, we can keep live streaming, and kind of I think in after a while, a generic sort of a brand or a generic sort of presentation will emerge on the channel.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the analytics section we can see generally when most viewers are live, and I think over time a loose sort of time window will emerge where we can do these live streams. We can chill and hang around and work on projects together. Yep, looks good so far. Yeah, imagine if I was still doing this with a 20 gauge wire. That would have been a nightmare.
Just wasted one of these, and we already do not have many of
Be careful not to like twist the tweezer. Use
we'll need to order more of these. These connectors have grown on me, by the way. I don't hate them as much as I hated them the first time I tried them. They are good. I don't know exactly how they'll connect with the wires in front.
You will have to attach the female part of those connectors, I think, on the other end. So they kind of clip into each other nicely.
So, okay,
Like
that makes one thing a bit easier and the other thing a bit more. In long term, it's good for the project.
Wow. Yep. This is how
it does that, but there's also something else which is cool. I'll just do that and show it. So it goes inside of this slot over here.
Yeah.
And they're both connected together now.
It's such a well sort of design to standardize connecting wires.
Yeah, so for long term, I think this is good for the project. But
before this, I think we only have used JST connectors before, and that was a really cool design as well.
Yep.
It's really commonly found in a lot of these boards, the JST connectors. But this is the first time we have seen these connectors.
Take it out a little bit.
So yeah, that chat, if it proved one thing, is that once our Steam live stream went down because of the battery issue, it's alive and well right now.
Yeah,
so,
it's well right now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go back and see after ending the live stream what happened during that time when the live stream was down.
Yeah,
but I think the next logical step to improve it is definitely to add more camera angles and something more entertaining, in not just like a mundane camera angle of soldering going on. I think
it's already pretty good.
I think emotes will really help.
Yep, emotes will really help, as well as the characters that are down below. I think they're already a pretty fun plugin. We have music, we have some work being done. So even with the lo-fi animation, if the person, there's just a loop of animation, but people have it on all the time. But that channel is sort of famous.
Yes, it's like iconic, of course.
Yeah, iconic. So yes, we would have to add some sort of entertainment angle to it.
Yeah,
we definitely need to consider something like that.
Making electronics and geeky stuff entertaining.
So something like what we discussed the other day, maybe question of the day, or we would need to do something interesting with time. Maybe giveaways, fun giveaways.
maybe we can do that. Yeah, the I'm feeling really optimistic with the watch time.
Oh,
If you're doing these live streams every day, it's already at like 3,400 in the last year.
yeah. By the way, one of the persons I emailed earlier on, the one I saw
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Meshi of in Venture Cafe. He is a manager in a company that promotes collaboration in various industries, from aerospace, marine, agriculture, so like various sectors throughout Asia, not just in Japan. So like I looked it up online, and it seemed like a pretty big company.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting to see that there's people of this caliber attending these events. Especially the last time I went, there were in general pretty good people I got to talk to.
Yeah, it's a good idea to go there every week.
Yeah,
If we don't have anything
yeah.
busy with our schedule, it's a really good idea to hop in there.
Yep. I know San Francisco, it's very famous. They're having good events pretty much every day, and not just like one or two good events, but multiple events pretty much all day, every day, every time, because it's just the hub of a lot of startups. But Tokyo obviously does not have that many events, but there are interesting ecosystems, interesting events happening here as well, where people are pitching their startup, they're working on amazing things.
Yeah, you know, the Canadian friend I met today, he was saying the economy of Canada, just the general situation over there, it's been the worst it has ever been. And I asked him like, what do you think compared to USA? Is it worse, or is USA like in a more bad position compared to Canada? And I was expecting the answer to be USA, of course, because USA is real. The situation in there is really messed up. And he answered immediately like Canada. Canada is way worse compared to US, and I don't know. Canada does not make it a lot in public news, but I don't know what's going on in
No,
there.
I think the situation is pretty bad over there, because after COVID, they had a really massive wave of immigration where they brought in a lot of people, and the situation has sort of been going down ever since. So there was a really big issue with the housing prices, the prices of real estate, a huge issue.
Yeah,
And
I think it's going bad generally everywhere in the world. But yeah, it was really interesting to see, because in USA, either I think USA makes it to news for everything that happens over there. So that's why I think in my head USA was way worse off, but it's going bad generally everywhere in the world.
yeah, I don't know. So like I tend to see it from a perspective that history has always been this way. Social media or internet just kind of amplified it, put things more in front of people. People have always been the same, so history has pretty much been the same throughout. There's always been all sorts of people, but it does seem that things are sort of amplifying, or they just tend to appear amplified.
I mean, it's that boomerang.
Yeah,
Effect,
boomerang
yeah.
effect. Yeah, boomerang effect. That is a true thing, by the way. So like history does repeat, and everything sort of happens in cycles. That does seem to be the case.
Shout out to all Canadians in the chat. I hope things are not as bad as they appear to be from the sidelines.
Yeah, things are bad at a sort of a macroscopic scale. So if you go out on the street, generally it's just gonna be cool. There's not gonna be
Yeah, chill.
like it's not a civil war out there. In general, like if you go out, meet people, hang around, it's pretty common. It's pretty normal. but on a macroscopic scale and on the internet, it does seem like things are amplifying, things are and situation all over the world is sort of headed somewhere, if not exactly bad or good, it's generally headed somewhere. Of course, things change with economies, technologies, different emergent markets and whatnot. So like change tends to happen, and just like we discussed a while ago, it tends to happen in a cyclical sort of fashion. So in a strange way, history does repeat itself.
Like Ben Cohen says, history does not repeat, but it often rhymes.
It often rhymes.
Okay, almost done with this second last motor controller, and after this I just have one more to go, and yeah, things are looking optimistic in terms of the assembly of the robot. We are somewhat decently progressing on our timeline of building this thing in a week if everything goes according to plan. The CAN wires are so tiny. I think I'm gonna have to double check if they were really 30 gauge. But for signal, I think they should be. It's a decent size for signal wires. But generally, the signal wires I have used so far, they are way bigger compared to this. But I'm gonna have to double check after soldering the last motor controller if this is indeed the right size. God forbid if it's the wrong size, I'm gonna have to do everything all over again.
Yeah, over my end, I am just working on the last actuator, attaching the power pole connectors to it. After this last one, my job here will be done, and yeah, once the connections are soldered, we expect the actuators to be ready to start fleshing the code and calibration. So calibration is a necessary step before we start assembling the robot, because in assembly we need to open up the actuators and change a lot of connections. We don't want to do that without calibrating the motors first, because we'll just have to assemble, disassemble again and again, and it's gonna take us a lot of time. So yeah, after the soldering connections are done, we should be ready for flashing the code and calibrating the motor and the actuators. But let's see how we proceed.
I think the actuators you have finished, you can place them over here.
Oh yeah.
Just bring them in the frame.
Guys, by the way, where are you tuning in from? We would love to know which country you're viewing the live stream from. Plus, if you add a comment on the over here, you can see there's a small character at the bottom of the live stream. You will have one of yours as well along with the comment. It's just gonna be hanging around. So whoever sends a comment on the live stream, a mascot or small character appears at the bottom of the screen, and it's just gonna be hanging around.
Also, if you guys have any questions regarding this build, or any other project.
Yeah, or even IoT software or robotics in general.
Yeah, even politics is welcomed. I don't encourage that, but it's welcome.
All inclusive space.
All inclusive. First Amendment,
First Amendment, right?
freedom of speech. We have access to we have the ability to ban people from the chat as well. So we're gonna be having our own First Amendment. We're gonna have our own constitution for the chat.
Yeah. There goes democracy. There goes freedom of speech.
Yeah. Do you guys think is there anyone in chat who says that there's absolute freedom of speech anywhere in the world? Xi Jinping will love to disagree.
Yeah, I think politics is one of the things that people are generally, in general, any person is interested in, and most people do tend to have some opinion on politics. It's although I personally, myself, believe it's I don't pay much attention to it, but in general, for some reason, people are very much interested in it.
People, yeah, it's a really good tool to keep people busy or occupied, but a lot of people are not interested in politics.
Yeah, we here, hands raised.
Yeah, but the people who are, they tend to be really expressive about their views, and they really make sure to let you know what their views are, what their core beliefs are, and they always make sure to bash the opposition. Always.
Oh yeah, the video that we saw earlier on where two Pakistani people were like, what has Imran Khan done? What has Imran done?
Yeah. And they start fighting over that.
Man.
Yeah, just like on a lovely sunny evening.
Yeah. They just decided to take politics too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a good thing to add would be to the screen share feature. Like we can drag these clips and show them to the chat.
Yeah, well,
and we can gather those video clips throughout the day, or maybe for the week, and we can drag them onto the screen every now and then.
Yeah. Would that risk a copyright though?
No, I mean they not these funny memes. If there's no music in them, I think that's a safe. But we have to be really careful with the music.
Really careful.
Or we can just play them on mute just to
because
be
with many of the clips we don't even know the original, but people are resharing that randomly on the social media accounts,
there's absolute. I don't think there's any chance of copyright with those if we mute the videos while sharing them in the live stream. But if there's even a very low decibel music going on, if there's even a slight copyright chance, we're gonna have to we're gonna avoid it. So yeah, that's emotes and sharing memes or clips from social media. That's gonna be the next addition to the live streams, definitely.
So in this live stream we had 6 concurrent viewers at one time, and I think that's one of the best ones we've had. The best one we've had in any live stream.
Not like one of the best.
That's one of that's once again the best one we had in any live stream.
Yeah,
that's interesting. It's a pretty random process, but I think some days are in general good live streaming days, some days are bad. You cannot, once again, it's random, you cannot really predict, but if you keep going, some days there's outlier results. That's just sort of the way the algorithm works. You have to be just consistent above all.
Yeah.
If I were to like describe the whole YouTube journey in 2 words, it's consistency and a high clock speed. So the consistency could mean that you're pushing every one video every month. So like you can keep doing that, but that will yield results very slow. Combine that with a really high clock speed, a really high throughput. So like one video every day. It could just be a random video like a live stream like this. There's not
Yeah.
much to it, but you have to have a high clock
I think
speed.
we have to also start uploading shorts on the channel because the shorts have a lot more reach as compared to the long format videos or the live streams. They bring in a lot more viewers. So there's more exposure if they want to stick around, if they're interested in the content, of course.
Yep.
If they're not interested, they're gonna leave. But we have not uploaded a lot of shorts on this channel. That's something we need to work on.
Yeah, we need to work a lot on all of the social media platforms. So there's not been any posts going up on X as well for a while. It's just that sometimes when there's some tasks, they just really end up taking all of the attention, and you can once again goes back to the universal concept of having a team.
I'm done with the last one. I'm gonna be back in a second, and then I'm gonna check for any short circuits between these connections.
Yeah, you can place all of the actuators over there.
Be careful with the solder is live, so be careful
just
not to
bring it a bit
bring
here.
any wire close to the tip of the solder iron. I'm gonna place it here, and I'm gonna check for any short connections. I don't think there are gonna be any, but I'm still gonna double check.
Just
So
place all of the actuators.
I'm gonna place it over here, like here, and this is the big one.
I'm just making the last connection, and after that, we'll figure out the next
Yeah,
steps.
you can move it over here.
Oh, it's just one
take a
connection.
video engage.
Yeah, it won't even take a second. It's just one connection.
Yeah, after this live stream, I'm gonna watch like 2 episodes of Kaiju number 8. It's going so good. Like even though it's like brain rot, just like fights, but it's so good.
Yeah, any anime fans in the chat? If you're watching any anime or movie or season at the moment. So these are the crimping connections I have made for all of these actuators today. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and this is the 9th one. There's one other actuator we have to make. In total we need 10 for the upper body. We need 2 M6E12 actuators, 2 M6E12 actuators. We need 8 5010 actuators for the upper body. There's one more 5010 actuator we have to make, because at the moment we have 2 3 4 5 6 7 of these. But yeah, I'm just making this one last connection over here, and after that we'll figure out, because the soldering is done, all of the connections are made, we'll figure out how to attach these connections to the USB can and calibrate the actuators. There we go. So all of these connections are made as well. All of these actuators you can see are covered. The reason why this one is not covered yet, it's open, is because the rest of the part is over here. So I ended up attaching it with an aluminum profile yesterday. it's still open, but you can see the motion of these plates inside of here. These are the cycloidal gear drive. So yeah, these connections are complete, and we will see how do we go about flashing the firmware and calibrating the actuators from here on. One thing which I would need to check is if we can only calibrate the upper body alone without the lower body, because we do not have the lower body actuators assembled at the moment. So we'll look into that, and based off on that we'll see how to proceed from here. Most likely by tomorrow's live stream, or by the end of tomorrow's live stream, we will have the upper body assembled. All we need to do is just calibrate and test these actuators, and we can just start assembling the upper body. It won't take us long. We can disassemble and assemble pretty quickly. I think it will take us only about maybe 2.5 hours to assemble all of the upper body in tomorrow's live stream. In today's live stream, once again, I'll be focusing on the calibration. So small break here, chat. I would love to know where everyone is tuning in from, where you guys watching us from, and if you're working on any fun or interesting project in software or hardware IoT, or in general if you want to discuss anything about IoT, software, AI, robotics. In general, if you want to discuss anything about these fields. So for flashing the software to the motor controllers, we in their documentation they have mentioned we need to install the STM32Cube IDE. Then we have to clone a repository. There's a configuration file. First time boot up flag, we need to set it to 1. Okay. Connect the motor controller to the computer via the micro USB port on the controller board. The controller board. Where's the controller board? Building the actuator. I'll just open this one up. They could be referring to the mini PC, but I'm not sure. For brand new boards, it will prompt a ST-Link debugger firmware update. Click accept, and it will do the firmware upgrade. After flashing with the initial configuration program, power cycle the board by unplug and plug in again the USB cable, then change the first time boot of flag back to 0. Now we need to log the the fields that need to be configured is also in its header file. First configure the CAN ID. Are we done soldering all the connections? Yeah, I think soldering is finished, as well as all of the connectors are attached.
I think the next step is to test one actuator by uploading the code, and let's try and see if it works or not. So I'm gonna hold off desoldering the rest of the encoders and
Yeah, for
motor
now.
controllers, because we're gonna have to check if we have burned any of these. Although I really doubt it. It's really difficult to do that, but we're gonna have to check if we have burned any encoder while trying to desolder the 20 gauge wire and resoldering the 24 gauge wire. So yeah, let's try and check at least one of them. I think we're gonna need power supply for that, right?
Yeah, so the power, of course, the power has to be provided to the actuator, but through which connection? So, like is it directly being provided to the motor driver?
Yeah, directly to the motor driver, I think.
And how do we want to solder the motor driver? So
We have 14 gauge wire over there, one black, one white.
14 or 14 gauge. Okay,
14 gauge, yeah. So we have not made a power connection on any of the motor controllers, so we will have to solder those on one of the. So these are the power connections.
Okay.
And
alright.
These are the
motor controller connection.
yeah, the motor controller. We're gonna use connectors through these. So we're gonna solder 3 wires over here, and then we're gonna solder connectors
Yep.
in between, and then we're gonna supply power to one of these. So let's start the process. I'm gonna grab a power cable to solder onto any one of the motor controller boards over here. So let's move these aside to a side. Let's see, which one do we try? I think I'm gonna try the one I am most confident in terms of it not getting a short connection. We're gonna check and see. I think this one has a really good chance of not having a short connection, even though it is a 20 gauge wire and it's really thick. But I think I did a decent job with it, and we don't have anything short over here, at least from what I can see visually. So now I am gonna solder power cables over here. So we have, let me bring that in the camera frame. So we have a bunch of power cables lying around. So this is the 14 gauge wire. I think let's cut this much length for now, and I'm gonna solder these on the motor controller. And if you can double check the connections, so how much voltage we need to provide to the motor controller.
Can you show this battery to the chat? It's a beast. It's really
Yep. So this is the battery for powering up the motor controller.
yeah.
We're gonna try to do it using a power supply now, I think. But yeah, let's see. Let me solder the connections first. It's like 22 volt. We're gonna solder it by on the motor controller first
Yeah.
of all.
Yeah, solder the 3 connections, and then we can have these connectors attached after.
First
on
up,
top
I'm
of the
only like
connection.
joining the power cable, and then
Oh, only the power cable.
Only the power cable. Then we're gonna see what to do with the other three. I think I dropped a wire in there somewhere. Let's deal with that later.
The easiest way to do it.
Do you have a tweezer, Ali? I dropped a. Yeah, here we have tweezer. So this section of the motor is when it's exposed. You have to be careful not to drop anything in there. I just dropped a wire part in there, and I'm gonna now grab it using tweezer. So as you can see, I dropped it in there just now. So be careful when this section is exposed not to drop anything in there. Place it back there, and let's solder the power connections. So I'm gonna want you to apply some solder over here while I grab this thing. Just a second. So we're gonna make sure the orientation is right, and the ground signal, the cable for the ground, it goes over here, and the voltage cable is gonna be soldered over here. There's a huge area, a huge section for solder pad over here. We're gonna apply a lot of solder wire and try to hold it in place. Alright, so if you can grab this and this wire, and I'm gonna try to solder it in place while you do so. Yep, right here. Is it stuck there? Yeah, a little bit. So it's not. Yeah, it just moved around.
This time.
Yeah. Do it upside down, and let's try and solder it once again. Keep it away from the other components. I think we will have to use some flux to make it sit nicely in its place.
I think it has connected well.
It is connected?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna apply flux on the other connection so it's not as difficult. Where have I placed the flux now? It's like a Where's Waldo of small electronics components.
Yeah, you can see the view. The lab is a bit of a mess right now, and it's really difficult to find any component if you're looking for it. There's the flux, I can see.
Oh, yeah. Let's see how much easier it is to make this connection now that I have applied a little bit of flux over here.
Just a little bit.
And I'm gonna put it back in there. I am gonna cut this wire and rotate it a bit, and now you can place it over here. Let me grab the solder iron. Grab this one as well. Is it like stuck in there?
It is stuck in there, but just make sure there's this very small capacitor? No, it's not a capacitor. It's a resistor, I think.
You can move it slightly to the edge. I'm gonna desolder it again. Just move it a little bit outside.
Yep, it's perfect here.
Okay, the power cables should be good now. Hopefully. So we have ground, we have the power, we have the the voltage and the ground signal from the encoder, and the two signal wires from the encoder as well, and we have the CAN bus connections as well. I'm gonna remove these, and I'm gonna insert it in the USB to CAN module over here. Yeah, let me show you the image for that. First of all, I'm just gonna clone a GitHub repository that we need. Right, I have cloned it. Check the CAN connections from here. Okay, then this makes some sense, but they do have like labels over here. It's gonna be like easy to CAN. This one is ground black, so black is gonna be the uppermost, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so yeah, it's written over here, so the yellow one is gonna be in the center. Yeah, we can make connections without that. Yeah. I'm gonna need a small two-faced screw, and I don't know where it is right now. It's gonna be a bit difficult to find it. Okay. How do we like open this if we don't have the
What?
Yeah, I think a worker came here and he took the this one is too big. It's not like fitting in there, so we're gonna have to find something else that's easier to fit in there. These are not working. What do we use to like open this now? Can we had a really small set of screwdrivers like to open like phone and laptops and stuff. Where's that one? I think it's gonna be there somewhere.
Where?
There, I think down there. I think Abu Bakr used it to open something up, maybe a laptop.
I don't think it's here. I don't think
But
it's here.
yeah, you can look for it. I'm gonna look for the power cable signal meanwhile, and because I think if we don't have a power supply, I wonder where we're gonna provide the power from. Yep. So I think to provide 20 volts to this, I think we can use a battery. If you can grab the battery from somewhere.
Which battery?
Yeah, the
here
yellow
it
one,
is. Yeah, here it is.
the Ingo one. I think we're gonna use this battery to supply power. It can supply 20 volts, and I think it's charged, so it can provide some juice. Yeah, let's try and see if we can supply power through this battery to the motor. I think he might have taken the set with him.
Yeah.
I think then it's gonna be really difficult to open this without that set.
So we had a very small set as well, right? Do we still not have it, or
No. The I'm talking about that set. He took it with
he
him.
borrowed it?
Yeah, he borrowed the set. Okay, I think then we can just test it off camera sometime later.
Yeah, I guess we can do that.
Oh yeah, this is what we were looking for. So we got the screws. Sorry, the pliers.
So the average view duration just went up to 10 minutes, and woo! Congratulations to us. It's a good milestone.
Yeah,
By the way,
another
look at-
milestone achieved.
yeah,
And
Look at the chart of the live viewership.
yeah, this is the most we've ever had.
Yeah.
And honestly, thank you so much, guys, for like the support. This is only our like 5th live stream.
Yeah, and honestly, this is so good. It deserves its own maybe a print somewhere over here. It's so
Yeah,
good.
maybe. Yeah, so this is not working, and you know, it's, I don't know if it's easy to see, but it's the tip is messed up. The tip is not. It the tip is doing a merry-go-round. It's starting to turn into a drill bit instead of a two-faced fastener. Yeah, so I think we're gonna have to find something else to open it later on. I think let's call it a day.
Yeah.
Alright guys, we're gonna call it a day over here. We're gonna test this off camera, and in the next live stream hopefully we will have everything working, and we will have started building the upper body of the robot. So the next live stream, it's gonna be a real interesting one. We're probably gonna be doing it tomorrow. So we're gonna be assembling hopefully the upper body of this robot tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for that. We're gonna be doing everything live. The setting, the camera angle, it's probably gonna be a lot different because the body is really big. So we're gonna set a camera in a way the whole body is visible. And yeah, that's it for today. We're
Yeah.
gonna be doing a bit of testing off camera, and then hopefully by the next live stream everything will be ready for assembly.
Yeah, and once again, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. We have 27 views so far on this live stream, and honestly, it's crazy that some random 27 people around the world, this live stream popped up in front of them, and they showed interest and tuned in.
Yeah,
It's
And-
really mind blowing.
and once again special thanks to Crunchy for keeping the chat active. Really appreciate that. And yeah, hope to see you again in the next live stream when we put everything together. And see you soon. Take care, guys. Cheers.